Hello and welcome to Todd Talk, where insight meets inspiration. I'm your host, Todd Hiller, and I'm an author, speaker, and longtime community leader, here to guide you on a journey towards fulfillment and balance. In every episode, we'll explore ways to fill life's emptiness, helping you uncover practical tools to create harmony, purpose, and happiness. Whether it's thriving in your career, nurturing personal growth, or simply finding joy in the everyday, Todd Talk is your space for real conversations and actionable advice. So let's thrive together, personally, professionally, and beyond. This is Todd Talk, and I'm thrilled to have you here.
So often, so many times in our lives, I think we have this illusion. We have this illusion that we can get ready for something, we can prepare for something and get ready to have something happen. But I think there is a lot of truth in the phrase, you can't prepare until you're there. And I think lots of times we have heard people say, and maybe even heard ourselves say, I thought I was ready. I did everything I could to prepare. And I think the idea is that some things, a lot of experiences in life, cannot be prepared for intellectually. They can only be experienced. They're not things that we can line ourselves up for and prepare for mentally and physiologically and emotionally until they actually get here and happen. And that is true, I think, with lots of different circumstances and lots of different situations across the board when it comes to people. You know, there's a moment where you might have thought you were ready for something emotionally, mentally, professionally, and then you realize that maybe you weren't. And I think there is something we can do to distinguish between hearing about something and actually going through it, right? People, lots of people share stories with us. We have friends, colleagues, loved ones, spouses, family members, whoever, and they share their advice. They share their warnings. They talk about the lessons they have learned when things have popped up in their life and the way they have walked through them and found the time and energy and grace to get through them. And that's helpful. That's really good. That's something that we can chalk up to good advice or helpful advice. But, that experience is theirs. Your experience will be shaped by your past, your emotions, your nervous system, your beliefs. All those things come into play because it's not their experience when it comes to you. So they can tell you all about what they went through or how they felt or what they did to prepare or what they would do to prepare if it happened again or if they had to do it again. And this is true with having kids and becoming a parent and becoming maybe a spouse or getting married or preparing for marriage or a long-term relationship, moving, a new career. So many things fall into this category where we have asked other people or just maybe talked to other people about their experiences and the things they've walked through, the things they've gone through. But stories with us, or stories told to us, rather, don't fully land until they pass through the heart, the brain, the chest, the gut, and all the way down into our bones. You know, we can hear about something from somebody else. We can hear this other story from some other person, but it really doesn't hit us. It really doesn't work through us as a person until we go through it ourselves. Because you don't understand something with your whole body until your whole body has been in it. When someone tells something to us, when we hear a story, we use our ears to listen and to hear the story. And if it's emotional, our heart kind of feels something for them. But that's kind of it. It stays surface level when it's the other person's story, not only because it's personal to them and it's their experience, but also because no matter what someone tells you about something, when it actually happens to you, your emotions are going to kick in, and that reaction you feel and those emotional reactions you feel are going to hit you and be super, sometimes overwhelming, sometimes super strong and powerful. I've said before in some other episodes that one of the biggest things we can do and one of the most powerful things we can do is control our reactions to things. But in that same episode, we also talked about how you really can't control the emotional feeling you get, right? Emotions are exactly what they are. They are emotions. We feel them deeply. When something is said to us or we hear it or see it, we can't help but feel them. We have an emotional response, a physical response sometimes, a physiological response. Our heart and our brain and our gut all feel something when something happens or we read about something or see something happen. If you've watched the news lately, anytime in the last handful of weeks, there are so many things that are heart-wrenching to watch and disturbing and upsetting and that make us worry and wonder. And those are those types of things that as soon as we see them or hear them, we have that emotional feeling. It just hits us. And then from there, we react, in lots of different ways. But when it comes to someone telling us something, we may hear the story, we may have that same emotional feeling, but we have not gone through it ourselves, and we can't prepare ourselves for what will happen when we are in the exact same situation. And obviously, not everything is like this. Someone could tell you, hey, by the way, make sure you study really hard for Professor Dr. Robinson's final exam because it's really difficult. You can do everything you can to prepare, but you don't know what the exam is actually like until you sit down and read the questions yourself and try to take the exam yourself. So when the real thing hits, when the reality shows up, right? And when I always say when hell comes to breakfast and starts knocking on the door, when reality bypasses your preparation, there's some things that get kind of torn open, right? We have so many exposures in our lives of things that we are exposed to before things actually happen. Movies and TV are a big one, right? We see lots of things happen on TV and movies. We see high-speed chase. If we see a high-speed chase in a movie, that's fantastic. We're like, oh, this is cool. Like, we either hope the person gets away or we're like, oh, they're a bad guy. Get them. We want the cops to get them. But if you were ever in one in real life, I can promise you it's not going to be like the one you saw on TV. It might look the same on camera, but it's not going to feel the same way. You know, and we do this with other things in our lives too. We go to trainings. As a member of the fire service for 2.5 decades, I have been to countless trainings for, hey, this is what we do in this situation. We train for fire and for rescues and for rope rescue incidents and for high-angle rescue and vehicle extrication and confined space rescue and cold water rescue and all these things. But never once have I gone to a call and it was exactly like when we opened up the textbook and could read it line by line. That's just not the way reality works. Life itself is a moving and fluid beast, right? Sometimes. And it can be really beautiful, and it can also be really trying and troubling. And you have to kind of let it ebb and flow and let yourself experience things as they happen, because no amount of movie watching or training or studying or rehearsing can prepare you for what actually happens. And it's like this in the world of theater, too. Those of you who know me or know I've talked about it before, too. I spent a lot of time in college acting and recently just got back into it. And rehearsals are great. You can rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and practice, but when the real audience shows up and the actual night happens and the lights are correct and there's energy in the room, rehearsal is not rehearsal anymore. This is a live thing that you have to live and breathe and work and react through. You know, so like watching true crime shows or even seeing death on a scene, on a screen, as someone who has seen, you know, death in real life up close and personal in the emergency services, I promise it's not like it is on TV. And like I said, it might appear that way, but the feelings you get and the reactions you have, TV doesn't prepare you for what you're actually going to feel and what you're actually going to need to do to process those things in your real life in real time. You know, so the first real encounter with anything is really, really emotional, as it should be and kind of is expected to be, but you don't know what that's going to be like just because your neighbor or your best friend or your buddy told you a story about it happening to them once. And the truth is, no matter how prepared you think you are, the real thing arrives differently. No amount of talking can prepare you for what's actually going to happen, but it's not a failure, it's not a weakness, it's just called being human. Before I became a parent, I talked to lots of other parents about becoming a parent, about, it was the best thing I ever did. I love my kids so much. It was emotional and this and that. Like you hear all the stories from your parents or your friends who already have kids or whoever. And then it's still as much talking as I did about becoming a parent. When my daughter was born, my firstborn kiddo, I cried like a baby, no pun intended. And no amount of talking could prepare me for that emotional feeling that was going to hit me, this giant wave of feeling and emotion. And no matter how much someone else explained it to me, no matter how many words they used, and no matter how descriptive they got, nothing they said could have prepared me for the way I was actually going to feel and react, because it was my experience to live. And that's really important, to give yourself grace when it comes to that, because sometimes I think we have these things, these experiences show up and things happen in our lives, and we think, oh, well, I should have been more prepared for that, or I thought I was ready, or, you know, this didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. But give yourself some grace and give yourself permission to not have it nailed down perfectly the first time it happens. Even when my second child was born, when my son was born, I was still super emotional. I had already been through a childbirth once, right? I was a parent. I had said, now I'm never not going to be a parent. I have one kid. Here comes the second one. But it doesn't mean it wasn't emotional. And no matter what somebody told me about becoming a parent for the second time, it wasn't ever going to be enough of an explanation for me to know what it would feel like in my heart, my soul, my bones, all the way down to my core. We have to live it, because preparation gives you, I think it gives you context. It doesn't give you immunity, right? It doesn't mean you're not going to feel all the difficult and different things you're going to have to walk through. It just gives you some context of what the situation might be like. And that's okay. And that's a good thing, right? So give yourself permission to really just walk into new situations feeling as prepared as you can be, but give yourself permission to also feel unprepared when the thing happens or to feel overwhelmed. It's okay. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong or that you're failed, that you didn't prepare the right way. It just means you're human. And I think this applies to joy also, because heaviness and heavy things, emotional things that we try to prepare for, sometimes we feel like, oh my God, this is so awful. This is so terrible. This was so heavy. I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared. That will happen. I fully understand that. But I think it happens with joy too, right? So when people tell you about falling in love, no matter how much someone talked to you about falling in love, the first time it happened to you, I promise you felt it a whole lot more than you felt the words that someone else told you in the past or before that. If someone tells you their story about how they fell in love, you're like, oh, that's cute, that's great, oh, it sounds so beautiful. But when it happens to you, when it hits you and you fall head over heels and you're like, oh man, the all-consuming passion and the excitement and the deep joy that you feel in your life, not just surrounding love, but surrounding your hobbies or your pastimes, or the first time your kid scores a goal or hits a home run or makes a play or scores a touchdown or, whatever it is, all those things that happen in your life, the excitement, the passion, the love, the joy, all those things, it's so beautiful to not be prepared for those either. Just because someone tells you, oh, listen, hey, the first time your kid, gets to play volleyball and makes a really great play or a really great serve or a really great set, or the first time your kid gets out there on the ice or they get up on stage or they play their piano piece perfectly, all those things, no matter what people tell you you're going to feel, the feelings you have when you live it and go through it are so much deeper, right? And I think love is often described probably endlessly, right? There are so many quotes and books and poems about love, which is a really beautiful thing. But when it happens to you, none of the words work, right? They all fall short of what you're actually feeling, because you have this human core soul inside you that gets to feel and love and move through those emotions in real time. And that will far surpass any words that someone could ever tell you. And, that surge that you feel, the energy that you feel, the way it kind of hits you and rocks you to your core, those are things that words, I find, typically don't do. Someone can tell you something. It can be an emotional story, or you can listen to an emotional story or movie or radio broadcast or podcast, all those things. And you can feel emotions, but man, the energy that surges through you when something actually happens to you, I think, is so much different and so much more beautiful. And that is also true, I think, with fear and doubt on the other side of the coin. And different emotions kind of weave themselves into our life the same. I think the same rule applies. Something difficult that happens, it's going to hit you like a giant shockwave. Even if someone tells you, hey, listen, this is going to be really tough when you go through this, or here's my experience, here's what I felt. They can talk till they're blue in the face. When it actually hits you and shows up and knocks on your doorstep and surges through your core and kind of takes a hitchhiking, winding walk through your soul, it's going to feel a whole lot different. No matter what the person said ahead of time, it's not going to prepare you for how you will actually feel. So I think one of the key takeaways here is, well, the intensity of life, good or bad, or good and bad, cannot be rehearsed. You can't practice the intense things that are going to hit you and roll through your life and kind of make you feel those big, deep things, because you're going to have reactions in real times, and one feeling is going to tie itself to another, and you're going to have to walk through it one step at a time. No matter what someone has said to you ahead of time, it's always going to be a living, breathing, real-time exercise to kind of get through it. And, the other side of this coin is that uncertainty is also kind of always a constant companion to this, because I said, no one can prepare you for what hasn't happened yet. They can tell you stories. They can give you their experience. But the other side of that coin is that we also don't have anyone in our lives that can predict what's actually going to happen to us. Now, that's not to say that we walk through life blindly, but we also don't walk with a full roadmap. Life changes day to day. Let's be honest. Everybody here, I think, listening has woken up on a Monday morning and said, I have best intentions to have a great week. And then by 9:15 a.m., you're like, well, I'm ready for the week to end already. Nothing went the way I thought it was going to be. Everything went sideways. And we don't have the full roadmap, but we don't walk blind. We have strategies in our life that we use to overcome difficult things. We know how to handle grief, and we've walked through it before. We know how to handle bad days and traffic jams and rough days at the office and fights with our spouse or arguments with the kids, all those types of things. But because life changes day to day and curveballs show up without any warning, period, they come out of the clear blue sky, out of left field, right? Because that happens and those changes are always going to persist and life is always going to be different, even the most routine of days changes literally all the time. The distinction is we can be prepared in general, but we can't be prepared for specifics. We don't know what will happen. We don't know when it will happen, and we don't know how it will feel. Now, on high level, high altitude, yes, we know what will happen. We'll wake up. We'll get the kids to school if you have kids. If you don't, you'll get up and have some breakfast and get yourself to work or start your day. Or if it's a day off, you'll go to the gym. All the things you work through. Whatever you're working through, whatever your day-to-day routine looks like, you know how it's going to start. You have a high-level overview of what's going to happen, and you know high-level when it will happen, right? You know what time you're supposed to be to work, what time the kids are supposed to be to school, what time your meetings are, what time you're supposed to be to the gym, what time you get your cup of coffee, lunch break, all those things, we know those. It's a known thing in our life. We have a timestamp. And on some levels, we do know how it will feel. We know what it feels like to get stuck in traffic. We know what it feels like to drop the kids off at school and say, okay, they're safe at school. Okay, we can take a breath now. That part of the morning's good. Now on to work. Next step ahead of us. Here we go. But preparedness isn't necessarily knowing. It's being able to adapt when things change. Because even if we think we know what will happen, chances are, yes, the normal things in our life will happen, but in between or even sometimes during all those normal, regularly scheduled things, other things happen and other things pop up that we have to deal with, fires we have to put out, phone calls we have to take, messages we have to reply to, spilled coffee, traffic jams, the toaster malfunctioned, all the things that go wrong, or maybe not wrong, but go astray from what we thought our quote-unquote normal routine was going to look like. Those are all the things we don't have a roadmap for. But we adapt and we overcome and we figure out how to get through those things. But no one can tell you when those things are going to pop up in your life. So even if someone tries to prepare you for your big interview day, hey, you have a job interview, here it comes, I interviewed with this company too, it's where I currently work. They can give you this whole laundry list of things about the interview. But when you wake up and you set the iron down and it burns a hole through your favorite shirt, now we start all over again, right? You can still be prepared for the interview, but you have to also deal with all the emotions and the frustration and the things that popped up, like the hole you burned in your shirt with the iron, and all the things that kind of wiggled their way into your day before you actually get to the interview. And you won't know any of those or how they're going to happen, and you also won't know how they're going to make you feel. Some people can laugh that off. Some people, it would ruin their whole day, and they would be so flustered they'd have to start from scratch, and both of those things are okay. It's part of being human. So give yourself permission to be adaptable and give yourself permission to understand that not everything will always go the correct way. So I think, how do I want to put this? So there's lots of quotes about this, but when you walk down the path of life or when you walk down the path of your day, no matter where you're walking, I want you to visualize an actual path. You can only see a short distance ahead. You cannot see the whole path. If you're someone who likes to hike or likes to walk, if you walk 2 miles a day before work, or you walk the loop in your neighborhood or walk the block, when you start out in your walk, you can't see the entire path. You see what's right in front of you. You go ahead and walk, and as you walk further, the path reveals itself to you. Oh, I can keep going. There's more road here. There's more sidewalk here. Oh, I have to cross because the sidewalk's over there. Oh, this is a dead end. Oh, we're going up a hill. This is really rocky. This is really steep. All the things that happen as you walk down a literal path. The same is true about your day. So the goal here is not to see the whole path, but it's to keep moving forward. There's that really beautiful quote about, when you're driving at night, you can only see a little ways in front of the car. You can only see what the headlights are lighting up and illuminating. But if you drive that way, you can make the whole trip that way. Little by little, piece by piece, you just keep on going. You walk where you can see, and the rest of the path will reveal itself. Clarity, I think, comes from motion, not from waiting. And I think that's a really good distinction to make, because we can sit around and say, oh, well, hopefully maybe if I think about this enough, it'll become perfectly clear. Sometimes you just got to kick yourself in the pants and go out there and do it and take the first step and just start. Because when you put yourself into motion, when you take that first step, then things start to become clear. Things start to feel the way they're going to feel, and you start to understand what they're going to feel like, and you can adapt and walk through those things and have a really good idea of how you're going to navigate the path in front of you. But you have to start. You have to start walking down the path and let it reveal itself to you. You have to use some motion. You can't just sit still and wait, right? You can't just have analysis paralysis and think you're going to think everything down to fruition, and you just sit in a corner in one room and you can use your brain to transact the entire day, right? You actually have to get out there and start yourself and put yourself in motion. And as we wind down and close, guys, I want to tell you to give yourself permission to be where you are, okay? It is perfectly okay sometimes to feel uncertain and to have a really emotional response to something. Give yourself permission to not feel ready, quote unquote ready, to not have the full picture, right? And I want to really remind you and encourage you and reinforce the idea that you're not failing because you didn't feel as prepared as you thought you were going to. But if you're doing the things and taking the chances and putting yourself in motion, that's really what matters. You're learning because you showed up and you took the steps to go forward. You took the steps to start whatever you're starting and to keep going down that path. And that's the really important part. So life doesn't ask us to be fully prepared. It can't. It would be great if we could be. It would be fantastic if we knew what was going to happen. Although I would argue knowing what happened might be kind of boring and sometimes kind of maybe doom and gloom and morbid. Don't worry about, don't believe that life expects us to be fully prepared for every single thing. I think the best we could do is just be willing to walk and be willing to move forward. You don't need the whole path. I think you just need enough to take the next step. And I want to encourage you to do that because I believe in you and I believe in your power to change and control your own life day by day. Thank you, my friends, for listening. If this has resonated with you and you think someone else might like it, go ahead and share it with them. How about that? That's a little bit better. If you'd like to follow along with me on social media, you certainly can. I am at Todd W. Hiller on TikTok and Instagram. I post there just about every single day. I also have an Instagram chat channel where you can come to find inspiration and kind of daily messages to walk through these podcast messages. Typically, they relate back to the core message of the podcast, and we kind of chat throughout the week, and I'll give you some ways to keep your chin up and keep right on going. Wherever you are in the world, whatever time it is, however you are listening, I want to thank you so much for your time and energy in listening to me. It has been my absolute pleasure. Take care and be well.
Thanks for tuning in to Todd Talk. If you've liked what you've heard, please go ahead and subscribe and follow along so you don't miss any updates or new episodes. Thanks very much and enjoy the rest of your day.